Greetings, everyone, and Salamu alaikum, which is my very poor Arabic pronunciation for peace be upon you. If that is not a clue, I am in Cairo, Egypt. So, yay! It is my first time in Africa and my first time in Egypt, and I am very ecstatic to be here. There have been trials ever since I first got to the airport in Budapest and started to check in my luggage. It was just one obstacle after another. Funny, just quick tell on that is I have because I live in my suitcases right now. So I'm very much aware that there's one suitcase that's always going to be a few kilos overweight. And so I'm prepared to pay for the overweight. I always check with the airline to make sure they accept overweight. And never had an issue with this before, but for whatever reason, I had to wait like over an hour before they could get it approved for me to have the overweight and then pay. And then their credit card machine was down, so I had to go to an ATM to pull out the money. And I was in Hungary, and they have, like, the Egyptian pounds, their money is in the thousands. And I didn't realize that I had changed my converter over to Egyptian, or I'd forgotten that I had done that. So when I was pulling out how much money I was going to need for the Hungarian forint, I accidentally pulled that out in Egyptian pounds, so I pulled out over $100 more than I needed to pull out in Hungarian money. And even then, after I paid the luggage, and I'm running about an hour behind already, and so I go through security, which is fast, and as soon as I get through security, then they close the gate to the duty free, blocking off all passage into the main airport. There was a lot of us that were baffled. Not even the airport staff knew what was going on. We were all just sitting there waiting. Eventually there was a police dog brought around, so I'm guessing it was like a drug bust or something. And you could kind of like see through the duty-free store on the way to the other airport, and you're just like, oh, just let me pass through. And there was another 30-minute delay, so I was beginning to get a little bit antsy because I had an hour to get to my flight at that point, and it's, not a huge airport, but I didn't know it. And then I went through, and then I passed through passport security, and then I still had to find my gate, but I noticed a currency exchange, and I went to ask them if they had Egyptian pounds to change that money, and they said no. And like an idiot, it did not occur to me to ask for US dollars. I just somehow thought in my brain, well, when I go to Egypt, I can exchange the Hungarian forint. That doesn't exist here. There's nobody in Egypt will exchange the money, so I have the equivalent of 100 US dollars in Hungarian money that I can't use, which kind of threw me off my budget. But yeah, so I did make it to my gate. I did make it to the airport, and then I arrived in Cairo, and they don't put the visa sign up where people can see it. I knew that I had to go and purchase my visa ahead of time, but I had been in Jordan before, and it was just like a straightforward shot, so I had envisioned it would be that simple, and it wasn't, and I'd had a whole bunch of back and forth. Had to pull out some money on my ATM and found out my card was blocked, even though I had told my bank that I was going to be in Egypt, and then I had to call them. And thank goodness I had a Hungarian SIM card with some Wi-Fi, so I could Skype call them because the Wi-Fi at the airport didn't work. So it was an adventure getting in, but I finally did get in, and I collected my luggage, and my good friend was there to greet me. I haven't seen her in a few years, and so we just really hugged each other very tightly. And yeah, so it has been an interesting thing getting here. And then to top it all off, the place where I'm staying across the street, there is road work going on. And from about 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day, except for Friday, their holy day, you hear the sound of like rock breaking and machinery. And sometimes they'll come back about 11 or 12 o'clock at night and go on till 3 or 5 o'clock in the morning, not with the breaking rock, but with the trucks and the hauling stuff. And the other night they decided to get somebody honked in a rhythm, and I guess it kind of inspired all the other guys to start honking rhythms, and they were honking all these musical tunes and stuff, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and everybody was woke up by that, and we all just wanted to run out there and pour I don't know, what do you pour inside a machinery to make the tank stop up? I don't know. I would never do that. I didn't do it, but it did cross my mind. Instead, I prayed for them. The Lord bless you. So let me just say this, that if you are trying to write a book, don't come to Cairo. Don't do it, Hellas. Don't do it. This is the last country in the world that you want to try to go to if you're trying to focus on writing a book. But it has not been a completely negative experience. I've got to meet some new friends. I've got to be at the Nile River, at coffee there a couple of times, and done some exploring, and soon I will go see the pyramids of Giza. I also did not think about, when I planned this trip to visit my friend, I didn't realize that this was tourist season. So everything is like 3 times as much as it normally would be. And yes, Egypt is relatively cheap for US dollars people, but you know, it adds up pretty fast. So just trying to keep it budgeted, but it's okay. Like I said, I won't get to go see the Luxor. That's several hours away and several $100s, but I can go to the pyramids and I can see the Nile and I can walk around the city. Sort of. I mean, it's more actually you get an Uber around the city because it's not really designed for walking, but you know, hey. Yeah, so that is my life. I do apologize for not having a beautiful background. There's not a lot in this room for me to really decorate. And also it's at nighttime and there's a little bit of quiet for now, so I thought I would take the opportunity to film this video. That has been part of my struggle, is that there's been too much background noises of either people or construction. Even whenever I've gone out, it's just too chaotic to try to film a video. There are professionals out there and I need to pay attention to how they do it. So with that being said, excuse me. With that being said, I don't have a lot to report on my book. I am currently right now still focused on research. I have had a setback, I mean, noises and stuff aside, in writing my main character, Carrie. I realized that when I had first imagined her, this was over 10 years ago. And I was a different person 10 years ago from what I am now. So therefore, trying to continue to build on this character that the old me had imagined is not really working out. So I'm having to take some time also to get to know Carrie and to find out who she is and what her problems are and her issues, and what are her good points, and is she likable, not likable? What's her personality like? It's like getting to know a new friend. For me, it's getting to know a new character. And it may sound a little bit interesting to people who've never written a book. I know I had never considered it until I watched the movie The Man Who Invented Christmas, which is about Charles Dickens writing A Christmas Carol. And there was these scenes where the characters were appearing to him and he was talking to the characters. Even though they were figments of his imagination, he was having to get to know who they were, what they were doing, what was making them tick, what were their motives. And these are things that one has to do when you're writing a book. You need to examine the characters. So I have some fictional characters, and then I have some true historical characters, and I'm having to spend a lot of time getting to know them and identifying things about them and their characteristics. Surprisingly, it is my main character, my 100% fictional character, that is the hardest. Perhaps that's because she is 100% fictional and everything that I base her off of is completely out of my imagination, whereas the historical figures, well, I've got a lot to start off with. But yes, so that is the current update with me and the book. In regards to Cairo, I am taking some photos whenever I can. I'm usually in a car moving, so it's kind of an interesting place for sightseeing. You know, it's like you've got to get the right places. I don't know. I haven't figured this city out yet. It's interesting. It's very lively, and the people are so nice. And really, they are. They're very, very nice. But I'm just not really getting a whole lot of photos yet. But as I do, I will try to do a little collection and create a little photo slideshow to go along with my others that I have posted on YouTube. So I apologize that I don't have more than that. I apologize that you've waited 2 weeks for that. And I apologize because I know that this video is bouncing because I am actually sitting on my bed because I needed something to prop up my little tiny prop selfie stick / pod stick. I really need to invest in some proper equipment to do this. But yes, so in the meantime, God bless. I will endeavor to get another update again soon. It is probably going to be something like this, but if this is all that I can get, then that's what we gotta have. So see you later. Good night here, and stay out of trouble. And again, if you're writing a book, stay out of Cairo. But if you're not writing a book, if you're writing a book, stay out of Cairo. But if you're not writing a book, I highly recommend that you come here and explore this beautiful city and meet the wonderful people that are here. So God bless you. Take care.